Hello, I'm Quinlan Eddy, the founder and CEO of Star Analytics, and thank you very much for coming to attend today's session on Star Analytics and our software, and very much looking forward to taking you through what we have today. Just as a brief agenda, I'm going to take you through an introduction to the company, Star Analytics. We're going to help you understand what our product is, the Star Command Center, and its offering for cloud computing. We'll also take you through a demonstration of the product and then do a wrap-up. I've allowed about 40 minutes for both PowerPoint and the demonstration, and at the end we'll have some Q&A as questions pop up. So just as a brief introduction to Star Analytics, the company was founded in 2004. We are a venture-backed company by Hummer Winblad and Lightspeed Venture Partners. Our team here in California, we all have a solid and deep business intelligence background, coming from companies like Arbor Software, the authors of Essbase, Hyperion, Oracle, Microsoft, and so forth. We're also headquartered here in San Mateo, California. Our product portfolio includes the following. We launched our first product in 2005 called the Star Integration Server. We then launched in 2009 the Star Command Center, and we just released this year in the first quarter the Star Command Center Azure Edition. We have some IP that protects our technology, and today I'll be speaking to you specifically about the Command Center. We do have some major partnerships with Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, and Informatica. So the mission for Star Analytics is we are an automation and integration software company. The products and software we produce is on-premise and cloud-ready, ideally to orchestrate the critical workflows that exist between enterprise applications and enterprise computing environments, ultimately providing for more timely, higher quality data with significantly less effort. This basically, in turn, saves our customers significant amounts of money, improves their compliance, and ultimately allows them to make much better decisions with the applications that they have available. So what does Star's software automation address? Primarily, we call them automation gaps. These gaps include the disparate or gaps between various types of business intelligence. Oftentimes, business intelligence apps have very little or no automation capabilities, especially in between from various different vendor stacks. We eliminate a lot of tricky custom coding. Oftentimes, there's someone in the back office writing a lot of Perl, Python, PowerShell, whatever it might be, in order to bring all these different applications together. We eliminate that. We make it much more compliant, much easier to bring this. We're basically the power tool that goes into your toolbox. We improve or actually enable automation lifecycle management, and I'll get into more of that later, but the whole concept of being able to move from development to test to production to on-premise to the cloud, all that automation lifecycle management is very important as it relates to compliance. Speaking about compliance, we provide the ability to, on the audit side, to see who ran what, where, when, and how, and when something has changed. And I'll be showing that and highlighting that through the demonstration. We accelerate implementations because there's a lot less custom coding. And we create what we call self-service automation for business users. Oftentimes, a lot of automation applications from the likes of CA Autosys or IBM Tivoli Workload Scheduler, those applications tend to be very much oriented towards IT and technical users, not towards business users. We cater our software to business users. Ultimately, the constituents that actually use our product typically are business users, but they need to be able to actually run and monitor, so their production support is greatly enhanced. We've recently gotten some great industry praise. The William Fellows of the 451 Group recently commented on Star Analytics as being a provider of hybrid cloud orchestration services to the general application marketplace. At Microsoft, we've also gotten some nice press with the quote of our software products easily scale across on-premise applications and the cloud. Tony Young from Informatica commented saying, in summary, eliminate custom code, reduce costs, and improve time to value. And our customers also speak as well. This one, the more it's used, the better it gets, and that also speaks to the time to value to our software, which I will be getting into that. So who are our customers? A lot of household names here that you can most likely recognize. We don't focus on any particular vertical. As you can see, we have a lot of different industries covered here, but they're very happy, referenceable star customers. Like to highlight another use case here. Within the first year of deploying the Star Command Center, over 4,000 hours were saved, and this actually translated into a $300,000 first-year cost savings at Pfizer, basically providing ROI in less than 6 months. So the strong support, strong ROI, and basically, as we're all starting to acknowledge here, CloudSlam, significant cost savings through cloud-based applications and software in general. So what is the marketplace that we address? What we're looking at here basically is a classic major corporate infrastructure. This is the view that the architect would look at upon their various different systems. Typically, there's a lot of different applications across a lot of different platforms, a lot of different moving parts. Underneath all these different applications are custom interfaces. And these custom interfaces tend to be things like batch scripts, PowerShell scripts, a lot of custom coding, custom executables. Each of these different enterprise applications also tend to have their own command line interface. And so what the interfaces that are written really are the glue that actually holds these components together. But they also have lots of issues. The issues being that they're hard to manage and hard to write and maintain. So in summary, what we see in the typical automation environment are heterogeneous applications, a lot of brittle custom code, a lot of manual processes, no audit trail and no compliance because they're typically people are hard coding in user IDs and passwords and so forth. And ultimately, no visibility. Sometimes it's hard to see who changed what, where, when, and how, or even to know which automation script is run in which environment, for example, dev, test, or production, or whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. So the big question here that the big question now is, I have my various different on-premise environments like dev, test, and prod, but now as CIOs are starting to really embrace the cloud, they also now that complexity really increases. So that the same paradigm that we were just addressing now just becomes a much bigger question. So ultimately, the question that's being asked today is, how can all this be automated? How can I manage all these different environments across different geographies, across different data centers, across different applications, and so forth? And that's what we're here to talk about today. So I'd like to introduce you to the Star Command Center. The Star Command Center is like the quarterback on the football field, American football, basically orchestrating all the different moving parts that exist across the different application spaces. We also automate on-premise in the cloud, and I'll get to in more detail about that shortly. But if we look over on the right-hand side, we see a lot of different enterprise applications from a lot of different vendors. And this is what the typical enterprise computing environment is today. Rarely do you find corporations standardizing on just a single stack. It's always probably coming from Oracle, IBM, Microsoft, Informatica, SAP, plus a lot of other enterprise applications that exist out there. We've also built into the command center libraries of functions, and these functions actually have been written through our plug-in interface. And the plug-in interface is key because it eliminates a lot of custom code and actually enables our partners and as well as customers to actually expand the capability of the product without having to build a brand new or install a brand new release of Command Center. They simply plug it in and at the same time eliminate custom code. We've also built out a business-friendly interface supporting mobility. And this is key. As people start to use tablets, smartphones, web-enabled devices, and so forth, they want to be able to, in real time, run and monitor and get a live update of what's actually running in their enterprise. They don't want to have to call up IT in an offshore department and actually understand, how are my processes running. So bringing visibility on a mobility standpoint is key. One of the key differentiators of the Command Center is that it's repository-based, and this is a very a big thing for us because, and I'll get to that in a moment. But all the automation that exists, and when we talk about automation, we talk about the artifacts, the various different components, and so forth. Those items can get loaded into the repository, providing for a central compliance and control, and actually the ability to see who ran what, where, when, and how, and who changed what, where, when, and how. So the alternative to having a central repository is actually to have all those custom scripts and custom code splattered across the various different environments, whether it's Unix or Windows, different environments like dev, test, or production, or on-premise or in the cloud. When it's centrally stored in the repository, we actually then get all the control that the repository creates. We also have a strong handshake with a lot of incumbent technology out there. Obviously, job schedulers have been around for a long time, from the likes of CA, IBM, UC4, HP, and so forth. We need to be able to handshake with those, and we've done that through various different types of web services, command line interface, as well as event listening. And then lastly, I really want to draw your attention to how do we actually wrap around all these different enterprise apps. Well, these enterprise apps all have a command line interface, and the command line interface is the key conduit in which we start to wrap around. And the beauty of this is actually the simplicity of how we do it. Instead of having to redefine the interfaces to all these different enterprise apps, we leverage the command line interface, we leverage the plug-in interface, and we essentially store all that in the repository so that we can actually very quickly and rapidly, whether you're trying to automate something in SQL Server, then jump over and run a shell script under Unix, then jump over and run something in Informatica, ClickTech, ClickView, Cognos, whatever it might be, we can easily wrap around that. And again, that's because of the command line interface. So what are the alternatives to Star Command Center? Well, they're laid out right here. A lot of companies these days stay manual. We have many examples within our own customer base where basically prior to having Command Center, they had pages, maybe a 20, 30-page document describing with steps and with screenshots, click here, copy this, log in here, move this, a very manual, time-consuming, and error-prone process, typically attached to one or two people within the department, which obviously creates issues as well. Oftentimes, the second option, the alternative, is scripting and coding. This typically involves hiring expensive resources or people that know just specifically how to automate, for example, something from Oracle Hyperion or something from IBM Cognos or something from ClickView. But all these different interfaces have different, applications have different interfaces, and they're typically brittle and non-compliant, often with a lot of hard-coded logins, hard-coded various different components that really make it difficult to maintain. And then lastly, they're the classic, what I would almost consider legacy IT-based scheduling tools. They are not BI aware. We have multiple customer examples basically saying, we would love to implement what IT has, obviously from a standardization standpoint, but it's not business intelligence aware. It's not designed for a business user. It doesn't support mobility. It doesn't have the ability to have that auditability, for example, so I can actually understand who changed what, where, when, and how. So these are the different alternatives to Star Command Center and the relevant issues. So how does a Star Command Center actually work? So a few slides back I showed a diagram where the command center was in the center. Used the analogy that it was the quarterback on the football field, American football field, and but here we're actually seeing this again. I'd like to draw your attention to the lower left corner and really highlight that Star Command Center is not rip and replace technology. It leverages all the existing automation, all the scripts, all the Perl, all the Python, PowerShell, custom interfaces, whether it's Unix or Windows or Linux, whatever it might be, that's been written over the years. What we do is we enhance that. And I also want to highlight again the simplicity of Command Center is that we don't re-engineer, don't force a brand new interface. We leverage the existing interfaces that exist across these enterprise apps. So what happens basically is that we load those existing automation assets into the automation repository. What I'm showing here actually is the Star Command Center Azure Edition. We've just launched this new product based upon our existing Star Command Center. But inside the automation repository, you then have that central storage and control and visibility and auditability of all those automation assets. Now, from the standpoint of setting up a process, and I'll get into this in the demonstration, but a business user from their smartphone would be able to launch and run and monitor various different processes straight from their smartphone or Windows device. The other thing I want to highlight is that we automate the various different components directly on the on-premise or cloud-based applications. We have an agent that exists, whether it's Windows, Unix, Linux, whatever it might be, on those various different apps. And at runtime, what we do is we stream, as you can see, we stream that automation asset down to that remote agent so that it gets executed. That's how we can actually easily control which automation component gets run on which respective agent so that we get that proper sequence as well as the proper file resources, the proper version of the file resource at runtime. Again, an important differentiation of our product. Let's say, for example, you're in the field and it's Saturday afternoon and you get an alert that an issue's cropped up. Traditionally, you might have to log back onto your corporate VPN, dig through a bunch of log files, call up IT, maybe have them do some problem resolution. But with the Command Center, you can easily drill right in, straight from any web-enabled device, drill right in and actually see the exact console out of actually what occurred at runtime. This is so important and such a differentiation over other ways to automate applications and automate the enterprise that you can actually remotely do remote remote problem analysis and then be able to actually understand what's actually going on without having to dig through a bunch of log files. So I'm going to pause right here and actually flip over and do a live demonstration. So we'll pause, and I'm going to flip to a different environment. So now you should be seeing a view. This is our administrative view of the Star Command Center. We are, let me just move this over. We are connected to the central server, and what I want to highlight is how we actually organize the various different components within our product. We organize by ecosystem, so we try to make this very business-friendly so that it's very easy to wrap around the existing systems that exist today in the major corporations that use our technology. Let's take a look, for example, at corporate planning. Corporate planning is an ecosystem that we see here. And in the ecosystem, we can actually see, for example, various different environments like dev or prod. We can have as many different environments as we like. One of the other key aspects of the product is being able to parameterize all those existing scripts that exist out there. So if you look, we actually have various different variables that we can type in, customized based upon the environment that we're actually working on, and then we can control the value between different environments. And that's really nice, because then you can actually determine, for example, login credentials which may be different between dev and production, or login credentials which may be different between on-premise and in the cloud. Drilling into how we actually use this, we have the whole concept of file resources. And inside of a file resource, we have various different types of scripts. I want to, again, highlight that a script, for example, can be any type of custom interface for that enterprise application that exists out there. So, again, the beauty of what we do is we don't force a new interface to the enterprise application. We actually leverage the existing interface that exists today, and it's not rip and replace technology. So here we can actually see, for example, the various different variables that we're actually using inside of my script. And we have built into the product, for example, things like the ability to have IntelliSense, so we can actually pick and use any one of those variables at runtime. Again, making it really easy to administer. The alternative to doing something like this is a bunch of custom code, for example, to pipe in the relevant user ID, password, have typically some sort of a password file that sits out there. Again, it's just not SOX compliant. It makes it very difficult to manage, and it's not the way corporations should be automating today. So once you have a file resource set up, we can always update the various different Cloud Slam, and I'll type that in there, and we go ahead and update the description. And so here, once I save that, we can actually see the audit log. So, for example, here I now have an audit. So from a source control standpoint, I can actually have the various different versions that exist of any given file resource. And what's even great about this is I can actually see which file resource or which automation ran 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago, or 2 months ago, because, again, we store all that centrally inside the file repository. So let's take a look at what does a standard process look like. What does an automation look like, jumping back and forth between various different computing resources, various different applications, and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and open up a process here called Nightly System Update. Nightly System Update has various different steps and tasks that enable the various different processes to occur. We have out of the box, for example, as I noted, lots of different types of functions, plugins that leverage the existing command line interfaces or the existing interfaces that exist across different enterprise apps. A lot of people know about Oracle Essbase, for example. That's a classic one out there. These are some of the functions that are out of the box. These are the plugins that leverage the command line interface of Essbase, but we just made it so that you can actually drop them right in to the product and actually get away from even having to know how to code that command line interface. A real big boost in trying to minimize the amount of complex code that exists. So let's take a look at what some of these processes might be. The first process that I have here is wait on a process. Wait on a process avoids collisions. Oftentimes there are lots of multiple schedulers that exist out there, a lot of manual processes and so forth. We make it easy for a business user to actually set up and manage their own automation and make it so that it's very intuitive to use. So for example here this is saying wait on process, make sure that run consolidation is not running before proceeding. In plain English we can see what that automation is actually doing, and so for example here I've got another automation. We're going to run a data load. This is a Oracle S-based data load against various different processes. We have built into the product as well various different types of error handling, things that might actually be normally pretty tricky to write in a lot of PowerShell, batch scripting, Python, whatever it might be, environment. Here we have a graphical user interface where we can control what actually happens, for example, during an error process. So we can pause, continue to the next step, retry, whatever it might be. As well as we can attach the various different file resources needed. I want to highlight again that when we attach a file resource, it comes from our repository, again, that relational repository in SQL Azure, or for our on-premise editions, SQL Server or Oracle Relational Database. It gets streamed to that remote agent at runtime. So when we attach a binary or a script file to the product or to the task itself, it knows which file resources are required at which time and gets streamed to that remote computing agent at the appropriate time. Again, preventing a lot of splattered script and so forth across the various different environments. We then run that various different process. We also have other really neat things as well. For example, we have companies that love to do automated data validation. This is really where the tie-in to business intelligence also comes in, is that we can actually, for example, have actions. So for example here I'm doing a comparison to see, for example, a checksum that occurs that we're getting out of SQL Server and compare that to a checksum that exists in a text file. So out of the box we have built-in elements or built-in functions that really support enterprise business intelligence applications, the ability to interoperate between these heterogeneous apps. And when you tie in data reconciliation across those heterogeneous apps, it makes a real 1-2 powerful punch. The other types of things we also include out of the box is email notification, an important aspect, obviously, to any type of process that we attach to. So let's go ahead and take a look at running this process, and I'm going to go over to our run and monitor. The first thing we're looking at here, actually, I'll drill up just at one more level. We can actually see a dashboard of everything that's actually running. And now, again, I'm using the thick client here. Shortly, I'll start to show you the web-based client, which supports a smartphone. But here I can actually see what actually is running in real time. Let's go ahead and drill into Nightly System Update, which was that same process that I just ran. We have the ability as well to easily schedule the process on multiple daily occurrences, all the traditional things you'd see in a scheduler, as well as a custom scheduler, which really supports a business calendar, for example, day -1, day +1, so forth, so that various different users can put in the component or the automation and have it as a customized schedule, not a reoccurring schedule. But we're going to go ahead and run this in a manual fashion right now. I'm going to go ahead and start the process. And what it's doing is it's running back and forth, and it's kicking off various different processes. Now, as you can see right now, that we're actually starting to get some failure notifications with the various different processes. And you can also see in the lower right corner that I got an email notification directly from Command Center. in the absence of Command Center, you might get this email notification. It might be real cryptic, or you might not even get an email notification. You might be kicking it off through, for example, a cron job or Windows Scheduler or something along those lines, which is just very difficult to get any type of notification. Let's go ahead and jump over, and I'll just jump over to that email. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. So here I've got an email in my inbox, and directly to the email I've got a link to that process. So I can actually click on that link and actually see the same information that I was just seeing inside of my Windows client. And I can actually now start to do remote troubleshooting, problem resolution, straight by drilling into that process, and I can actually see that, hey, I can actually connect to a certain server. Well, another key component to the product is security. So if I had the right security, I could actually drill in and jump over to a different ecosystem, and in this case here it's telling me that it can't connect to Oracle Essbase. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start this remotely from a smartphone, or in this case here a web device, and I'm going to start this so that we actually have this up and running at runtime. So this page refreshes every 5 seconds, and we can now see that it actually did refresh, and I can actually see, for example, that it's actually up and alive. We can actually up-level this information. Instead of saying a PID of 8004 is alive, we could actually simply say Essbase is now running, or the app server is now available. That's key to what we do. So once we've set this up and we got the process running, I can actually now go back into the process that was in a pause state, just like we were seeing here, and instead of having to restart that process, I can actually now resume that process. And that's another key differentiation, is just being able to pick up where you last left off. Oftentimes some of these processes might take 2 or 3 hours, and you don't want to have to restart it from the beginning. You just want to resume it. So we'll go ahead and resume that process, and it's now off and running, and we get a live update. As you can see, that it's going through the various different steps in the process. Again, we could be automating anything. In this case here, I'm doing a lot of automation of various different types of BI apps from Oracle Hyperion, but it could be IBM Cognos, it could be command line interface. It could be something that's not even business intelligence, but all those different types of components. Again, we support a lot of business apps, but all those components could be automated. As you probably saw, we also got some additional emails that came in, and one of the other tasks here was a reconciliation report. So here you can actually see that we got a report attached to the report, and I can actually now see a reconciliation report or whatever that might be attached. Again, really supporting the idea of business, being able to support what they need to see, and providing this whole concept of self-service automation. So I'm going to flip back over now to, and as you can see here, it updated dynamically as well, so everything's in sync. And just highlight a couple other components of the product and then wrap it up. So another key component to the product is security, and I mentioned this through the demonstration. So for example here, I can have a different user for different roles and groups set up. So in this case here, for example, I can create read, write, or execute privileges, or even provide granular security down to certain types of environments. And this could be development, production, on-prem, in the cloud, whatever it might be. But that granular security can then be applied to a user or group of users, all authenticated against corporate Active Directory LDAP systems. This again is very, very important. So if I were to log in, for example, and I'll log off here, and I log in as planner. Now I can see that I just have access just to one process, and that's really helpful as well. So a planner can actually come in and initiate just their processes and kick those various different components off. And from a business standpoint, being able to delegate that down to individual users really provides a lot of value add so that they can actually see what's actually running in real time. And if you watch carefully, the started and completed all updated here dynamically. This page refreshes every 5 seconds, and just basically it ran so quickly that we didn't see the active update. But I'd like to now go back to a summary and then wrap it up. So we have two flavors of Star Command Center. We have an on-premise edition, and in fact, just today we announced our 3.0 version of Command Center. And if you look at the link here, we announced it on MarketWire, hence the shortened URL here, mwne.ws. So that's short for MarketWire News, and then Star CC3, so you can read all about the Command Center 3. And we have also, in conjunction with Microsoft, have launched our Azure Edition. So the same functionality exists, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. Both can automate cloud-based computing environments, Amazon Web Services, Rackspace, and then systems, legacy systems that exist maybe on old AS400 or whatever it might be that are on-premise that you don't want to move to the cloud. So you get that nice combination between the two environments. But both products work the same. The difference between the on-premise and the Azure is with Azure we're introducing subscription-based licensing. And with that subscription-based licensing in combination with your own Azure deployment or a multi-tenant solution for smaller SMBs that would want to leverage our Azure license. Also want to draw your attention to the additional Star Command Center demos at these other shortened URLs, as well as recently, Microsoft sponsored us to do on their MSDN blog site a video, and also that we have a live demo. So if you want to see that web-based live demo again, take a look at this shortened demo, or excuse me, shortened URL, bit.ly star demo, and you can actually log directly onto the Command Center and run and launch everything that you want. That we find out a lot more information at our website. And always you can reach out directly to me. Again, I'm Quinlan Eddy, the CEO and founder of Star Analytics. That wraps it up, and we'd like to open it up to any Q&A that might have popped up. I have one question that's popped in here. What platforms do you support? We support Windows 2003 and above, as well as all flavors of Unix, AIX, Solaris, HPUX, as well as Linux. And so we have the remote agents that actually exist on the direct servers. They're actually running a native Java agent client, so that gives us the cross-platform capability, and that communicates directly with the central Command Center server. I have another question that's popped in. How do you secure the communication between the STAR Command Center server and those agents. We do that through, it's an encrypted format. I don't actually have the exact details on that, but I can tell you that when we stream the components down to the remote agents, that's done fully in an encrypted format and provides all the necessary security needed. Now, it looks like the number, that's all the questions we have. Again, would like to just encourage you to check out any one of these URLs or come and visit us at staranalytics.com. And really want to thank you very, very much for your attendance today, and hope this was a helpful and beneficial session. Thank you very much.